Hey everybody, welcome. You're back at the Soulscast. I feel like I haven't recorded in a long time, and that's probably true because episode 4 I recorded 2 weeks before I uploaded it. We're not doing that today though. This might be the quickest turnaround I will ever have on a podcast, but I'm recording this on Wednesday night, Wednesday, February 24th. It's currently 9:28 p.m. I would like to have it totally finished and uploaded before midnight. So, if not midnight, definitely early Thursday morning. So I still want these to come out closer to Tuesday or Wednesday, as opposed to the Thursdays or even Fridays of them coming out. But that's not that big of a deal. I might have also said in one of my previous episodes that I wanted to try to get off to a faster start because I tend to just talk and talk for these intros, and then that gives me less time to talk about my topic. So I'm really going to try to get through this intro kind of quickly. My last episode was about the Dark Souls 2 DLC. It was 53 minutes long after edits, and that's pretty damn long. And I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but according to my views on YouTube, at least, it was certainly the least popular of the first 4 episodes that I've uploaded. I think it only has 6 views. Episode 3 had 20, and I'm sure 20 views doesn't mean 20 different people sat and listened to the whole thing, but whatever, I'll take it anyway. So I'm going to try to keep this one at like 35 minutes max, and I think that's actually a perfect time for the topic I'm going to talk about, which I'll get into in a second. First, I'll do my normal introduction. My name's Shane. You guys know that, maybe, unless you're a newcomer. In which case, hi. I'm glad you found this podcast. It's pretty exciting. I'm sure you're very excited. What am I doing here? I'm talking about anything and everything that has to do with the Souls games. Demon Souls through Bloodborne. And beyond, because Dark Souls 3 is coming out in 2 months, and there's a whole host of what's being called Souls-like games. Souls games are almost their own genre now. Games like Lords of the Fallen was one of the first. There's other ones, a game called Salt and Sanctuary, which isn't out yet, which is essentially like a side-scrolling 2D Souls game. There's one I just saw a video preview of called EITR, E-I-T-R, which looks amazingly fun, and it's essentially a almost like a 3/4 view perspective, like a Diablo. It looks like Diablo, but it's obviously very heavily influenced by Souls. And there's another one called Dark Mouse, which I also watched a video preview from Vadi Vidya, who did the other preview I just talked about, and it's like a top-down view, almost like the original Grand Theft Auto games. And it's a very, very Souls-like game. So at any rate, at some point I might be talking about all those games. That was a bit of a tangent. See, I'm already tangenting, and that is not what I wanted to do. Let's talk about social media. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Twitter, I'm on YouTube. Find me on Instagram. I'm Kalameet, K-A-L-A-M-E-E-T. I don't find myself posting as much as I used to, and I don't post as much video game content as I used to. I kind of got burned out on Instagram, so I'm taking it a little bit slower. I'm on Twitter, same handle, Kalameet, except replace the L with a 1. And then finally YouTube, which if you're listening to this, you found it on YouTube, so I probably don't need to tell you where you found it, but search for Shane Norton on YouTube. There are a few of them. My profile is a picture of a beer, and I have like, I think 171 videos. So, a lot of videos. I like to talk about what I'm playing, and that's kind of a lot right now. My wife and I just very recently, on Monday night I think, finished Outlast, which is the popular first-person horror game that came out, maybe last year, maybe even 2013. It was touted as one of the scariest games that had ever been made, and maybe until the PT demo teaser game was released, maybe it was the scariest game. It was on sale like 2 weeks ago on the PlayStation Network for like, I don't remember, $5 or something. So I've been wanting to play it, so I downloaded it. My wife and I played through it. It was very, very scary. So we just finished it. And I recently bought Evil Within, which is a game I've been wanting to play for a very, very long time. Because my wife wanted to play another scary game. Evil Within so far isn't nearly as scary as Outlast, but it looks like it should be pretty good. I'm only 30 minutes into it anyway. She and I also started a new game of Little Big Planet because it's a pretty fun couch co-op game. We only played it for like 2 hours. And for myself, I'm playing a couple games. I'm playing Axiom Verge, which have been playing for a long time, but I'm pretty close to the end. I'm stuck on a very, very difficult boss right now. And I started a game called Titan Souls, which is no relation to the Souls games, but it's pretty fun anyway. And I'm probably a little more than halfway done with that game. I also just started Dark Souls tonight, and I'll get into that in a little bit. Now, that intro was only 6 minutes long. Shit. These intros, I tell you, time just flies like that. What are we talking about today? We're talking about levels, stages, areas, specifically those things that exist in the Souls games. I'm going to run down from each game, from Demon Souls, Dark Souls 2, and Bloodborne, 2 of my favorite areas and 2 of my least favorite areas from each of the games. So there's going to be 8 areas in total. I'm briefly going to talk about the hub worlds because each game has a hub world. So that's kind of what we're doing. Pretty easy topic, pretty light, but it's going to be fun because these games have lots of great areas, lots of great levels, mostly great level design. Almost everything in the game, in all the games, looks amazing, with maybe a few exceptions. So we're just going to get started where it all started, with Demon Souls. The hub world of Demon Souls is called the Nexus. It's the only one of these hub worlds that's indoors, which is a little bit strange, I guess. But it's a big giant room that's very vertical with lots of stairs that you can climb pretty high up. But there's mostly NPCs that you can buy things from. You can store your items you don't need, things like that. And this is where you access all the various levels as well. It's pretty minimalistic, I guess. It's the simplest of all 4 of them, but it's got great music, and it's very cool. It's very calming, I guess you can say. I'm going to talk about my 2 areas that I like. I'm trying to jostle the mic around. 2 areas that I like. I'm going to start with 3-1, which is the Tower of Latria area. It's the first area of World 3. It's it's like a big prison. There's prison cells everywhere. The boss is the Fool's Idol. I really like this area. It's cool. It's dark. It's got a spooky atmosphere because it's a prison. There's jail cells everywhere. There's torture devices, traps. There's guys howling for their freedom. So the look and the sound of the area, I think, is great, and it's pretty challenging, especially my first time through. I remember having a very difficult time. Yeah, so it's challenging, but not frustratingly so. And again, it just looks great, and there's lots of little secret areas and stuff like that. So it's not fun, I guess, because it's a torturous, horrible prison, but you know what I'm saying. And my second favorite area from Demon Souls, I had a tough time picking favorite areas from Demon Souls and Bloodborne, actually. When I think about the games, I love them, obviously. I don't think I really need to say that. Sometimes it's hard to think back on areas as fondly as I might like to, because when you're playing through them, you're not thinking about how much you love this area, usually. It's kind of a grind to get through. So thinking about Demon Souls in particular, I was like, man, I don't like anything in Stonefang Tunnel. That area is a huge pain in the ass. I don't like anything in the Valley of Defilement. That's a huge pain in the ass. So right there, that's 2 worlds just totally gone. But my second favorite area is World 1-1, which is Boletarian Palace. The very first area of the game after the tutorial. I mean, it's not an amazing level per se. It's got some cool little secrets and things that you really need to look to find. And it's decently big, but I like it. It's a great first level. It's pretty good at easing new players in, although if you've never played a Souls game, as I've discussed a couple weeks ago on my Demon Souls episode, it's very, very, very hard. But it just reminds me of my first playthrough of the game, and that's a good thing. And, it's this big castle. It's got this majestic quality to it, but it's kind of run down and old, and it's full of undead knights and these dredgelings and these scary color different colored eye knights, and it's got that stupid that king that you can fight as well. I don't even remember his name, but there's a lot of cool things in there. So it's a neat area. I like it. Two areas I don't like. I just mentioned the Valley of Defilement, specifically Area 5-2, which is the Leechmonger Archstone. You start in a very high, precarious area, like wooden slats you're gonna walk on, and you have to make your way down from this high area down to this big poison swamp, essentially. And the swamp is poisonous, so you get poisoned, and there's lots of very, very, very hard enemies at the bottom. And they chase you around, they hit hard, and I believe when you're in this poison swamp, you can't run or roll because the poison's so high. So there's not a lot of dodging these guys. You really need to just man up and fight them, and that sucks because they're tough. It's not fun to go through, and when I start replaying Demon Souls, I am not looking forward to it. I'm not looking forward to 5-1, but 5-1 is manageable compared to 5-2. And my next area I don't like is 4-2, which is the Shrine of Storms. It's the Adjudicator Archstone. Again, you start off with a precarious area that you can easily fall and die. It's like a cliffs outcropping on a mountain or something like that. And there's lots of those really tough skeleton enemies that are in 4-1. There's them, but you have the added risk of falling off an edge. And there's the big manta ray looking enemies that fly around in the sky and shoot their huge spikes at you. You have to be wary of those if you're outside. You do find some caves, but those are kind of tricky as well. I believe such a long time since I've played Demon Souls, but they have magic casters that have super strong magic, and they have tricky narrow walkways that you can walk on, and it's just another huge pain in the ass. If I think of Demon Souls, I don't think of that part fondly. And that kind of covers it for Demon Souls. I realize I'm probably going a little quickly through these, but I'm already at 13 and a half minutes, and I still have 3 games to get through. So I apologize if this isn't quite as in-depth as you would like. Perhaps I can do a more in-depth episode on some of these one day. I'd like to have a mix of just real in-depth, detailed discussion and just general discussion. Because that's what you have in life. You don't always have detailed, in-depth discussions about things. I guess. I don't know. Let's move on to Dark Souls. The hub area is Firelink Shrine. I think it's an improvement over the Nexus. Not that I don't like the Nexus. Firelink Shrine just has this quality to it that it's just very serene and calm. I wrote in my notes. I already said calm for the Nexus, but it's a really cool looking area, and it's not like the Nexus, where the Nexus has portals to every area in the game. This has branching paths to 3 different areas, I think. 3 or 4. And then from those areas, you can get to different areas. But the Firelink Shrine is very cool. Okay, 2 areas I like. Ash Lake. Ash Lake is absolutely gorgeous. Stunning. Maybe my favorite area in any Souls game. And it's really, really small. But it had such, I guess, a profound impact on me. It still resonates with me. I still think of it. It's an underground lake. You in Blighttown, which I'm actually going to talk about in a sec. In Blighttown, you can find this hidden area where it's a big tree called the Great Hollow, and it's a huge tree, and you have to fall down limbs, like branches and limbs, to get to the bottom. When you get to the bottom, you go into this other area, and it's like an underground lake. So you're underground, like way underground, but there's a lake. The lake is kind of split in half by this very white sand, like a beach almost. And there's a Hydra down there, and you can find that weird dragon covenant down there. It's just such a bizarre area, but it's so... I hesitate to use the word beautiful for a video game, but it's pretty goddamn beautiful, if I do say so myself. My other area I really like. I don't want to purposely go against public opinion. I'm not doing this just for the sake of arguing. Um, but I truly, really like Blighttown. You heard that right. Don't adjust your headphones. Please don't shut off the podcast. um, I like Blighttown. I know it has its laggy, crappy issues. I know it can be a bit tedious, but I've never had a problem with it. From the day I played through it until right now, I've always had this weird affinity for it. Maybe because it's such an underdog, and I kind of like you like rooting for the underdogs, and everyone hates Blighttown, and you're like, well, is it really that bad? It has all the rickety wooden platforms, very similarly to the Valley of Defilement from Demon Souls. It has that big wheel that you can get on. You can enter from a few different areas, but usually you enter from the top and you have to climb down, and that can be kind of fun. Again, that's like the Valley of Defilement, or it's like the Gutter from Dark Souls 2. They love making their rickety, poisonous wood areas, but when you get to the bottom, it's another poison swamp. And it's way more palatable than the one from Demon Souls, I'll say that much. And it does connect to the Great Hollow and Ash Lake, like I just said, so that's another positive right there. I like it. I don't know why. Well, I guess I said why. No, I didn't say why. Let's stop and rewind. I like it because it's interesting to look at. I think aesthetically it's really cool. It's a great idea. The lag doesn't bother me, and I just like the area. It's fun to explore too. So that's that. If you don't like it, then tough luck, but please keep listening. And those are my two areas I like. One's pretty common, one's maybe a little surprising. I got hot topics. I spit that shit like fire. What do I dislike from Dark Souls? Maybe this is even an unpopular opinion. The Duke's Archives, don't like that area. I love the way it looks, and when I say like and dislike, I'm not just talking about the looks and the graphics. I'm talking about everything. The design of it, the graphics, just how hard or how easy it is, the enemies, everything. I love the look of it. It's maybe the most unique area in any Souls game. You know, it's like a big library. It's got all the books, but then it has that weird like prison area. And it's big. It's sprawling. It has little tricks and secrets and those fucking revolving staircases. So it's really cool looking. I think it's tedious, frustrating, confusing for me. I'm kind of an idiot, so I get confused easily. And I dread it when I'm about to go through it. Like even now, I just started Dark Souls. I'm not even through Undead Burg yet, and I'm already dreading having to go through the Duke's Archives. I just don't like it. It's just dumb. And the fucking enemies, those stupid little crystal guys, and then the mages that dance all around with their tridents. Those guys can go to hell. That's what I gotta say about that. Another area which most people would probably agree with me is Lost Izalith. Jesus Christ, I've only had 3 beers tonight. Lost Izalith. And by extension, the Demon Ruins. It's too fucking orange. It's full of lava, which is fine, but it's too bright lava. It's too distracting, and it just looks like crap, I think. It's one of the few areas in any of these games which I legitimately think looks like garbage. It's bland, it's boring. I think I remember reading somewhere or hearing somewhere that the developers didn't fully get to finish some of the areas in the later part of the game. And if that's true, this is definitely one of them. And it definitely shows. And finally, those giant like leg dinosaur guys that you only see their legs because they're so big, fuck them too. Jeez, I'm gonna apologize for my profanity. Yikes. All the little kids watching, please cover your ears because I'm saying some bad words. Oh shit. Dark Souls 2, the black sheep of the Souls series. Dark Souls 2, the hub is Majula. It's another great hub, on par with Firelink Shrine. I know a lot of people don't like it because it doesn't have all these little clever routes and areas that like connect back to other areas, but it's still really great. It looks better than Firelink Shrine. It's like a big open town almost, because there's a bunch of buildings, there's a mansion, there's a big hole in the middle that leads to another area. It's really cool. I've said cool probably a lot, and feel like that's so dumb. I feel like some high school kid. Oh, it's wicked cool. This part's cool. It's really neat. And high school kids don't say neat. But I think I'm done talking. I'm just gonna let the final 10 minutes of this podcast be silent. So, thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys later. No, I'm just kidding, of course. Majula, there's a surprising amount of things to do and to find there. Again, the mansion and some other things. And then finally, just its location. It's next to that water. There's like a sunset. It's really. I've already used serene. I've already used calm. Breathtaking? Sort of. Okay. What areas do I like in this game? Aldia's Keep. That's one of them. I'm fairly certain in our regular Soulscast, I've talked about how I like Aldia's Keep. In I don't remember what episode. It's not the biggest area, but it has a cool idea, and unlike most of these other areas, I know some of the lore, and I think the lore is great on it. It has you start off in like an outside area with tall grass, and then you go into this big mansion, and the mansion has a lot of different rooms and stuff like that. And there's, again, like I need to say it, lots of things to find. It was a place used for experiments and used to try to create different things. So there's like monsters in cages, and I just like the look of it. I like mansions in video games, I think. Because I love Resident Evil 1. That's the only one I can think of off the top of my head. It actually connects to the next area I want to talk about, which is the Dragon Airy. Doesn't quite make sense why those two would connect, but I don't take issue with the fact that Dark Souls 2 geography makes no sense. Because I like the variety. I like the poisonous of the Harvest Valley. I love all the lava of the Iron Keep, which that lava looks better than Lost Izalith lava, I will say. And the Dragon Airy, I think, looks amazing. One of the best looking areas in any Souls game, because you're high up on these like suspended mountains or something like that. Maybe not mountains, but you're suspended high up in the sky, and you see the clouds and dragons are just flying everywhere, and there's all these like craggy rocks, and the sense of scale is just amazing. It's immense. It's why you play video games for areas like this. I think I'm blown away by it. I want to give a special mention to one area of the DLC, Shulva, the Sanctum City, which I talked about last week. But it's I think it's probably the best looking area of all three of the DLC chapters, and I think it's the most fun to play through. As much as I like big, open, grand areas, like I just said, I really like underground areas as well, which is why I like Ash Lake. And Shulva is an underground city, and I think that's just really cool. Let's talk about where I dislike, and there's kind of a lot of areas I dislike. I'm gonna say right now, the Shrine of Amana. Especially when this game first came out, I remember a lot of people on the Giant Bomb forum were bitching about how annoying Shrine of Amana was. I like it. I actually could have maybe even put it in the places I like. Aesthetically, at least, I think, again, it's an underground, watery area with all this really weird vegetation, and it looks like an alien world, basically. Some of the enemies are annoying, but it's not that bad. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about dislikes. Drangleic Castle. It looks really cool. It's pretty big, but I hate it. It's big. I just said big, but it's like a long area, and it's boring, I think. As far as castles go, it's boring, and it's hard. I don't want to necessarily dock points because certain areas are hard, but this area is so hard, you don't want to play through it. Again, it's another area where if I start the game, I think like, fuck, I don't want to go through Drangleic Castle. I don't look forward to it, I'll say. And that's very true of the next area I want to talk about, which is No Man's Wharf, which I guess is technically an optional area, but I always play through it when I play the game, and it always pisses me off, and I always get stuck at it for a long time. It's an underground area again, and again, it looks great. Very few areas in any Souls games look bad. Like I wrote in my notes, I'm a sucker for underground areas. It's just it's really tough and really fucking tedious. I don't like tedium. Okay, now let's get to Bloodborne. Um, Doing pretty good on time. We're probably gonna run a little over 35 minutes, but doing pretty good. Bloodborne. The hub is the hunter's dream. It reminds me of Firelink Shrine. It's outdoors. It's pretty big. There's a building in the middle that you can go into, and there's things to do in there. You have all the headstones to transport you to the different areas. Um, in that way, it's actually more reminiscent of the Nexus, because the hunter's dream connects to every other world in the game, much like the Nexus does in Demon Souls. It's cool. It's a good area. They make good hub areas. I can't wait to see what the hub area for Dark Souls 3 is. Okay, likes and dislikes. Bloodborne, I definitely had the hardest time figuring out which areas I really liked and which areas I didn't. And that's mostly because a lot of the areas just look the same. They all look great. The Gothic architecture is cool. It's pretty unique for a Souls game. But all the areas kind of look the same. Like, if I try to think of how much different Central Yharnam looks than the Cathedral Ward or Old Yharnam, they have very aesthetically the same. The game does open up towards the end, but I had a pretty hard time picking my favorites. But I'm going to go with a couple here. The Hemwick Charnel Lane is really short, and it's optional, even though you get an item from the bosses here that I wouldn't want to play the game without. So it's almost not optional, but it is optional, story-wise at least. But it's this short, narrow area, but it has like a wooded section with like all these hunters and their dogs, which I think is really neat. And I don't know, it stands out compared to more of the first parts of the game. It stands out, and it's cool. The bosses are super easy at the end, but even they kind of add to it. I like it. And the lecture building from the nightmare area, I love. It's again one of the most unique areas in the game because it's inside a big building. It's like a school. There's actual classrooms. There's seats. There's desks. All the enemies have like caps and gowns on, which is almost silly, but I think it's great. I really like it. I love the look of it. I just like how it's much different than most of the other game. I like the enemies. They're bizarre in almost a comical way, but that also adds to their creepiness. It's a creepy place, and that's a word maybe I should have used more often than now. But there's no bosses or anything. It doesn't need them. Not every area needs a boss, I guess. So great area. An area I'm not so keen on is I'm probably not gonna pronounce this very well, but the Yahar Ghul, the Unseen Village. I hate that area. It's not fun. It's very, very difficult. I like how you get there at first. If you get captured by one of those big guys with the bags, you just wake up there, which I think is great. Very, very cool. The Souls games do that kind of stuff really well. And you could play through the game and not ever discover it that way. Eventually, it's mandatory to go there via the story, but you can go much earlier. And I don't know. I don't like it. It might have to do with those 3 hunters that you have to fight. You guys know what I'm talking about. They are just no fun. And I hate to just dislike an area strictly because of the enemies and how hard it is, but aesthetically, it's no different than the first few areas, so it doesn't have that. It's very hard in a not an unfair way, but in a frustrating, piss you off kind of way. And I don't know, it just does not do anything for me. And the same goes for my next area I'd like to talk about, which is Old Yharnam. It has that guy with the machine gun, Dura, I think his name is, or Jura. I don't know. The J is probably silent. So him constantly hounding you down with that machine gun is very annoying. The one like on top of the big cathedral. And then, I don't know, the area is just, I'm like running out of words to use, especially for Bloodborne, because it's an old gothic city overrun by monsters and bloody beasts. It's not that unique, so maybe that's part of the problem. It's not that unique. I mean, Old Yharnam looks like the Upper Cathedral Ward. which looks like the regular Cathedral Ward, which looks like Central Yarnum. So it's like I can almost lump all those together. But Old Yarnum especially is just not my cup of tea. And that's fine. Every game you ever play has areas you don't like. Dark Souls is one of my favorite games ever, and the Souls series is my favorite series ever. And there's other areas that I hate in these games. I just kind of wanted to talk about them. I thought it'd be a fun little episode. I'm actually at 32 minutes, which is pretty good. I'll probably stop this in the next 5. Like I said, I know this has been kind of a general talk. I only spent maybe 5 or 6 or 7 minutes on each game, which isn't not nearly enough. And I understand that. So if you guys don't think this was in depth enough, sorry, I guess. I don't know what I can do for you really. But this could open up just a general discussion, which I don't really get much of. I'd love to discuss with people this game. So if you're watching or listening on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment. Tell me how crappy this episode was, or maybe just tell me your favorite and least favorite areas of the game. That might be a little better. If hopefully you're finding this on my blog, which I still haven't started yet, or restarted I should say, leave a comment there. Comment on my Instagram, comment on my Twitter. Hit me up, guys, because I'd love to talk about this stuff. So this is like opening up a general discussion, and maybe in the future I can do an episode that's just about Demon Souls levels, like going over each one. That would probably not be until I played through Demon Souls again, so I had a better memory of the levels. But maybe I'll do something like that. I don't know if I can devote a whole episode to one level, like one 30-minute episode about Tomb of the Giants, which I'm gonna say I actually like that area. I'm not one of the haters. Cool area, but whatever. So this is my general discussion about levels or stages, whatever you want to call them in the Souls games. Levels makes me think more of old school, like Nintendo and Super Nintendo games that had a definitive delineation between one level and the next. You would get a totally new screen and all that kind of stuff. So maybe areas is probably the right word. But I think that's all I got here. So this is right at the length I wanted, which is amazing. Oh shit, actually, final note. I got a capture device, finally. I can now record any game I play, which is great. I'm going to use it for my YouTube page, which mainly has boss battles. Up until this point, I've only been able to do boss battles for PS4 games, because it has built-in, recording capabilities. Now, I can record anything. So look for, hopefully soon, at least some Dark Souls bosses to go up, and I'll probably do others too. But the video that's going to accompany this podcast on YouTube will have been recorded with the capture device. If anyone didn't know, previously I've been recording my video with my wife's digital camera that has a video recorder. I just set it up on a bunch of stuff so it's pointing at the screen and just hit record. It's as guerrilla as you can get, but you work with what you got. So that's that. Hope everyone had fun listening to me ramble even more than I usually do. I hope you enjoyed me saying a bunch and all that other good stuff. And I'll see you guys on the flip side. Keep playing the Soul games, and I love you all.